you're thinking of coming to live in Spain and you're pretty sure but not 100% sure, so you'd maybe just like some other opinions. So we're coming up to our first year in our new home in Spain, but it's also nearly our second year of living out from the UK. We rented for the first year and then we bought our new home in January last year. So what's it like? Well, the number one thing is the weather. The weather, certainly where we are in southern Spain, Almeria, is mostly fantastic. It's sunny most days. You do get bad days. November, December, January, February, March can have days that aren't so great. But we don't get a lot of rain other than maybe you saw the other week. It can be windy sometimes, as it is today, and it does go colder at night, but it really only goes to about 3 degrees C, and it just feels cold because it's maybe been 15, 16 in the daytime, so it's just a difference in it that makes it a bit colder at night, but that's fine. You know, we have a fire, we have heating, so we keep warm. So yeah, the weather is the number one thing. In the summer, it can get very hot. The hottest day that we had this year was 42. Last year when we were in Granada, it was 44, and that's not easy to live with. Ideally, you need air conditioning, and even better if you're lucky enough to have a pool. What you have to do in those days really is you just make the use of the early mornings, and then you know, you stay under cover or inside through, you know, from dinner time through till sort of like 5, 6, and then do as the Spanish do, they come out later at night. So it's fine. We were a little bit worried about it, but no, we were fine this year. Some people find it easier than others, but no, we didn't really find it a problem. It was really good. So the people, well, where we live, there's quite a few British. There's Germans, Dutch, French, and obviously a lot of Spanish. And we have to say that we found everyone incredibly friendly. Food, well, yeah, it's different. I mean, you tend to eat a lot fresher because they have a lot of markets where you can go and get your food that literally has maybe only been grown a few miles away. But you do tend to have stuff that's in season. You can get stuff that's out of season, but that's obviously being imported and will be more expensive. With the food, as a whole, I'd say it's similar price to the UK, maybe a little bit cheaper, but you don't get the things that maybe you'd get in Christmas. Well, you get, you know, the vegetables for 20p. That just doesn't happen in Spain. You still pay a fair price for it. Also, if you're vegan or vegetarian, there's not quite as much choice, and you maybe have to use more shops than you would do in the UK, but you can get most things. But again, not as much as you'd get in the UK or maybe Germany, but we found it okay. And to be honest, it's a lot nicer to spend your time and cook your stuff from scratch using local produce. So yeah, that's not been a problem for us. Right, so public transport, well, that really depends on where you live. If you live in the cities, it's very good, the same as the UK. If you live like we do, sort of a half an hour or so from the coast, it's pretty non-existent. So yeah, that really depends on where you live. But I said, if you're living away from the coast in the smaller towns and villages, you're going to need to drive really. So house prices, well, if you're thinking of coming to Spain, you've probably already looked, and you probably find that with the exception of the places like Marbella, house prices are generally quite a lot cheaper, or if nothing else, you get a lot more for your money. As for getting things done, well, yeah, it's fine. They have IKEA here. They have places similar to B&Q. There's lots of places to get it done. Like the UK, you've got to be careful who you're employing to do the job. Go on recommendations. There's lots of Facebook groups that will put you in the right direction, and yeah, it's just really about doing your research. Again, I'd say prices are maybe a little bit cheaper than what they are in the UK, so again, that's another plus. As for purchasing a home, we actually didn't realise that this was the case in the UK, certainly when we used to buy a house, which was a long time ago now. You used to go around all the estate agents, or you'd look online for all the different houses. Well, over here, really, you just tend to register with one estate agent. They will obviously show you what they've got, but if they don't have anything that you need and you see something with someone else, well, you just tell them, and a lot of the time they're happy to do a deal with the other estate agent and split the fees and get the house that you want for you. So yeah, it's a lot easier, and I wish we'd known that at the time, because we ended up registering with a lot of different estate agents, and it turns out we didn't need to. So yeah, that's worth knowing. So driving over here, if you've never driven abroad before, never driven in Spain, to be honest, it's pretty easy. In fact, I'd say it's easier than the UK, because it's just not as busy. Obviously, you're on the other side of the road, you go round the roundabouts a different way, but honestly, after an hour or two, you'll be fine. Obviously, if you go into the big cities, it's harder, and it's can be a bit stressful, but that's no different to the UK. And the roads themselves, well, actually, they're probably better than the UK. You will get a surprise every now and again where you're going along a really good road and then you turn off to it and you are onto a dirt track. And that does happen quite often, but you can use your sat nav to not choose those roads for you. So yeah, as a whole, driving over here is really quite easy and nothing to worry about. Okay, but a negative, there's got to be some negatives, haven't there? Car prices, second-hand car prices. I was really surprised how much you have to pay for a decent second-hand car. You know, it's just not a couple of £1,000s more, you know, it's a few, maybe even £4,000 more than you'd expect to pay for a nearly new car back in the UK. So that's something you do need to look at. In the end, we decided to get a new car because, to be honest, you were only paying a couple of thousand more for a brand new one than you were for a 4-year-old one. So obviously you get the guarantee with the car, so hopefully there's no problems for a few years with it. So yeah, that's something maybe you want to look at. You can bring your own over, but that's something, you know, you need to look into. It's you know, it does have a little bit of hassle involved with that. So again, maybe that's something you need to look into. And speaking of cars, your driving license, luckily in the last year or so, after the problems with Brexit, you can now just exchange your UK license for a Spanish license. You have to have a very simple medical and a little test on a very old computer that it's just like playing a game on a PlayStation or something like that. I don't think anyone's ever failed on it as far as I know. So yeah, that's pretty easy. It takes about 6 weeks. I can't remember what we paid, less than £100 I would have thought. But yeah, so you don't have to worry about having to take a driving test over here. So that's fine, so don't worry about that. As for eating out is definitely a lot cheaper if you stay away from the big cities. If you go you know, more into the countryside a little bit more, or the smaller towns, it's a lot cheaper. As is, which I forgot to say before, with the food, the beer and the wine is a lot cheaper over here. So that's a good thing as well. So now the one that everybody dreads, taxes. Well, we've not had our first income tax bill yet. I think they are similar to the UK, maybe a little bit more. You get different allowances depending on where you live. So Andalusia is different, say to Murcia or other places. So that's something you need to look into. As regards cars, that's pretty cheap. And house council tax rates, whatever you call it nowadays, that's a lot cheaper, although you will pay for your bins separate. So, living in Spain, what's it like? Well, it's great, to be fair, and I definitely recommend it. The main thing, obviously, is the weather, but the way of life, you know, it's so much more relaxed, you know, so if that's what you want, definitely recommend it. Probably most people watching this are maybe coming to retire. There's plenty to do, there's lots of clubs around if that's the type of thing you want. So yeah, there's lots to do, and I really recommend it. So I hope you found this video a little bit useful for you. I hope it's answered some questions. If there's anything you think I might be able to answer, just ask away in the comments. Obviously, we've only been here for a couple of years, so there's people with a lot more information than what we can give. But one thing I will tell you, most of the people that we see here have been here for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. So obviously there will be some people who go back to the UK for whatever reason, but I think the vast majority stay and actually love it. So if you're thinking of doing it, go for it, and we hope you love it too. Thanks for watching. Bye. Yeah, so as a little PS, one that I forgot to mention, which I should have done, is obviously the language. If you do know a little bit of Spanish, but you don't need to. Most people are friendly and happy to help you out. If you need something, you know, important, like going to the hospital or solicitors or something like that, one, there's a lot of English speaking people there, and two, Google Translate can be quite handy, and also you can get translators to come along with you that you can pay to go with you to help if you really think that's a need. And then obviously a lot of people will spend the time and try to learn the language, and most of the time in the local councils offer free lessons which you can take and, you know, try to learn the language. So yeah, that's another one. Don't forget, anything that's said here, it's just from my point of view, so, you know, check things out for yourselves obviously. But yeah, so hope you found it useful. Bye.